Morning. How are ya? Okay, let's try again, but with more energy. How are you doing? Thank you. So, long introduction, and it's just, I'm Felipe and I work at the UN. That's my old claim to glory. I'm not one of those amazing heroes that you have heard before me. I just work in an amazing organization. But before we start the conversation, I don't want to talk about a speech as a conversation. Let's do something. How many of you like singing? Okay, let's sing. Do you know the musical Oklahoma? Do you know the song, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning? Okay, let's do something. And I apologize for what you had to witness now because it's me singing and you helping. But, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, let's do the lyrics. There you are. Would you like to help us with how it goes? Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. So this is simple. So the song, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, is about that, exactly, beautiful morning, hope for the future. It is the beginning of something new, so a new day. So let's do that. I commit to singing the main part, and then you join me in the chorus, and this is the chorus, okay? It goes, oh, what a beautiful morning, oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling, everything's going my way. Simple, right? Okay, let's practice once. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Perfect. So we're going to do this 3 times. There are 3 verses, so after each verse, we're going to do this. Okay, but please don't leave me alone on this. And again, I apologize for this. Hopefully this will not be in the final video or anything, right? Okay.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss a tree. And an old whipping willer is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
You rock! Thank you. Thank you for joining. A little secret, I used to sing opera in college. It's one of my minors. I had to do some extra credit to get to graduate, so I learned to sing, and it is fun. So whenever I can, we just join this. And it brings joy. Music is important, right? Even in diplomacy, at the UN. I do this also at the UN sometimes when they ask me to do a talent show or something, and it's always fun. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing that you care. My name is Felipe. I'm a comms officer. More than anything, I'm a communications officer, also program management at the UN, and I've been with the UN for 17 years. And those have been the most incredible 17 years, an incredible journey, and I love what I do. And if I look at my phone, it's because I'm checking my presentation, because I have it here, and I don't want to just take too much time. But shaping the global agenda. How many of you are familiar with the work of the UN? Again, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be super honest, okay? I'm going to give you 3 options. Absolutely useless. Okay. Pretty amazing. How many of you think that the UN is absolutely useless? Hey, don't worry about gravity. Just raise your hand high. Okay, thank you for your honesty. How many of you think that is okay? And how many of you think that is absolutely amazing? Really, those of you? My heart is divided, because I feel sometimes that we're absolutely useless. Sometimes I feel that we are the most incredible part in the world. And most of the time is, oh, we could do so much better. We could be doing so much more. What is the UN? Super quick, for those of you who are not familiar with us, we have 3 missions, or 3 goals: peace and security, human rights, and development, or sustainable development now. Those are the 3 pillars of the UN Charter. Think of the UN Charter like a constitution of the global community. Signed in 1945 and adopted, it is the guiding principle for the United Nations in our work, in our mission. And we have a structure that is the General Assembly, Security Council, Secretariat. You can Google this. I'm not going to bore you to death with who we are, what we do, and what is that we engage in. But those are the organs of the United Nations, and those are the spaces where we work. Okay, let me see if I can. I want to talk about modern history now with the UN. In 2015, the global community came together with an agenda. It's called the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Basically, member states said, let's make the world a better place. It is very easy to say it. It is not easy to agree on it. And it is very hard to vote on it. How many member states are there at the UN? Do you know how many countries belong to the UN? 193 and 2 observers. The 2 observers are the State of Palestine and the Holy See or the Vatican. Can you imagine voting on something at the General Assembly where everyone has to vote the same thing? Imagine a company with 193 CEOs. How easy do you think that is to negotiate with them and agree on something? It's almost impossible. Most of the time, we don't come to an agreement by consensus. We agreed on this agenda in 2015, as I said, and we came up with this. The Sustainable Development Goals, 15 goals. The symbol that I'm wearing, the pin that I'm wearing, by the way, I borrowed from one of your speakers because I gave mine away. So I'll return it, I promise. The symbol that we wear is in support of this agenda. Between 2015 and 2030, we want to change the world to make it a better place. So in 2015, we had to promote this. And the UN can be a pretty fun space, and we have amazing partners that do incredible work for us. Let me show you one of the examples that in 2015 we did. When we launched the campaign on the Agenda 2030, we decided to work with an NGO, Project Everyone, with Richard Curtis, and he is, you're very young, but those of you who are a little older, Notting Hill, the movie, he's the producer. So he also has an NGO. We worked with him, and he said, let's do something fun, and this is what came up out of that partnership.
We have a plan. The global goals for people and planet. To end poverty. To fight inequalities. And to defeat climate change. And I am proud to announce the plan is agreed by everyone.
The United Nations has launched a plan to fight poverty, injustice, and climate change. Tell everyone. Join us at globalgoals.org.
So, our partnerships with the private sector, with academia, with other entities is essential for the work that we do. And it's essential because by ourselves we will not be able to accomplish much. Let me tell you a secret, and this is something that I tell, I don't know if it's a secret anymore, but I tell all the groups that I talk to. Believe it or not, and please believe me because I don't lie, the UN needs you much more than you need the UN. we rely heavily on you. There's over 8 billion people on this planet. There's only 100,000 of us working for the UN Secretariat. To believe that the UN can fix everything or do something in many spaces is very naive. We rely on you. We need you. 2015 came by, and then 6 years later, in 2021, we realized that we were not on track. So we had to remotivate people. We had another campaign. And again, you saw that Liam Neeson was the voice of God, as we call it in the industry. Now we have Forrest Whitaker helping us in keeping the promise that we are still fighting for the world, regardless of all the challenges, a pandemic in between, how difficult it was to work. We came up with, again, another campaign. So again, we have the Decade of Action, 10 years until we achieve the SDGs, hopefully, Sustainable Development Goals. This is what the mess that we send in 2021 looked like.
After the genocide and destruction of the Second World War, a new global organization was founded. Enshrined in its charter was the fact that all people are equal and entitled to the same respect, justice, and human rights. It is a place where people from all races, religions, and beliefs work together and speak out for us all.
Today is the day of every woman who have raised their voice for their rights.
It is a place that brings nations together to strive for peace. And it's the last best hope we have in the battle to save the planet.
The world is waking up, and change is coming.
It has agreed goals to shape the future of the world. To end poverty and hunger, address inequality, protect our planet, and build a life of dignity for all. It's the light in the darkness. Where there is conflict, where there is injustice, where there is poverty, where there is hunger, there is help on the way. And you will see this sign. The United Nations. The nations of the world working together to defeat the problems of the world.
The nations of the world working together. And what about everyone else? How about NGOs, nonprofits? How about academia? How about the private sector, as I mentioned before? Sometimes the challenge of the UN is that member states that belong to the UN, and this is a criticism, and I'm being recorded, so I want to be careful with what I say. I don't want to be fired. They forget that people are not just governments. They don't rely on the decisions of a few. And the decisions of a few may drag other people, the regular population, regular people, regular citizens, to very conflictive situations. Not always the leaders of the world represent the best values of humanity, and not always they make the decisions that are the best for humanity. So we continue working at the UN. In 2024, we had what we call the Summit of the Future, looking into the world, how the UN can contribute, how we should bring people together, and we came up with something we call the Pact for the Future. One of them is the Declaration of Future Generations, you. And the idea is, how can we include you in the conversations? How can we, well, us, because I'm only 44 and I consider myself young. The UN doesn't define me as young, but I rebel and I don't care. So I'm a young person at 44, and right? Thank you. So we came up, again, with this summit. Is the third of a series of summits, the Education Summit, SDG Summit, Summit of the Future, and coming up in Qatar in November, we have the World Summit for Social Development. It will be the final 4 of the series. This is the event that I'm going to show you is a clip on, I have 5 videos in total, by the way, so I hope that you don't get bored. But this is the summary of what we call the action days towards the Pact for the Future. While the Summit of the Future was an intergovernmental process, meaning mostly for governments, we dedicated 2 days the weekend before for civil society, for youth engagement. And this is what the summit looks like.
I see world leaders, I see mayors and legislators, civil society, the private sector, academics, artists, activists, and young people. We will not solve today's global problems without contributions from all of society.
Speaking to the youth is like speaking to the future. You are the torch bearers.
The Summit of the Future is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reshape multilateral system and to put young people at the center.
Give them the space and the freedom to participate meaningfully in finding the solutions.
We need to decentralize and localize financing so that communities can step up and take action for themselves.
If you are not including persons with disabilities, you are missing 1.3 billion people around the world.
It's going to take transformative change, systemic change, underpinned by feminist principles to make sure that young people, especially young women and girls, are at the center of multilateralism.
Las mujeres con discapacidad seamos vistas.
The smart bet is always on the youth.
Not just youth consultations or youth-informed decisions, but young people at the table.
An agreement is nothing without action.
To recommit to multilateralism through the United Nations to resolve disputes peacefully.
Action must be taken now to safeguard the SDGs and sustainable futures for all.
None of this is possible without innovative, inclusive, and multi-stakeholder partnerships.
I believe that it is possible for us to have a win-win.
What I can promise you is that we will carry your insights and ideas forward into the Summit of the Future.
Friends, this is what effective, inclusive, networked multilateralism must look like.
Let's shape our future together.
I hope that you can see that this is not the UN of 1945. It has evolved. We have become better, more inclusive. We listen to other voices. We try to give platforms, and we engage with all actors, particularly youth, to build a future. It is essential for us. And sometimes we had to be a little bit controversial. We heard about the campaign that Christian led on Shell and whatnot, and we talked fossil fuels, and the UN has a very strong position on fossil fuels. In fact, we thought, how can we catch the attention of the global community if we talk about fossil fuels? Because, of course, everyone wants to eliminate the dependency on oil, right? And on the carbon emissions we want to reduce and whatnot. So we, again, are creative people in the in the development program of the United Nations, UNDP, and the Department of Global Communications. We collaborated to get a project. You may have seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, but this is what we had. By the way, I'll tell you afterwards, after the video, what we have. But this is the UN position on fossil fuels.
You okay? You need a minute? Cool. Okay. Listen up, people. I know a thing or two about extinction. And let me tell you, and you'd kind of think this would be obvious, going extinct is a bad thing. And driving yourselves extinct? In 70 million years, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. At least we had an asteroid. What's your excuse? You're headed for a climate disaster, and yet every year governments spend hundreds of billions of public funds on fossil fuel subsidies. Imagine if we had spent hundreds of billions per year subsidizing giant meteors. That's what you're doing right now. Think of all the other things you could do with that money. Around the world, people are living in poverty. Don't you think helping them would make more sense than, I don't know, paying for the demise of your entire species? Let me be real for a second. You've got a huge opportunity right now. As you rebuild your economies and bounce back from this pandemic, this is humanity's big chance. So here's my wild idea. Don't choose extinction. Save your species before it's too late. It's time for you humans to stop making excuses and start making changes. Thank you.
So, the UN, what have we accomplished? By the way, we are celebrating our 80th anniversary this year. We turn 80 on the 24th of October. The whole 2025 is a year to commemorate that the global community came together to just find solutions. And since then, what has happened? We had, in 1948, on the 10th of December, in Paris, we signed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. From 1945, we have had peacekeeping missions, 70 deployed, currently 12 active, all over the world to protect the rights of individuals who are in need and they are not protected. The eradication of smallpox, not a small feature. WHO has also been fundamental in the work, and I will talk a little bit afterwards about COVID-19 and pandemics. Well, let's go quick. From 1950, we have supported refugees through the High Commissioner for Refugees, different programs, including IOM. For migration, we have the launch for the Sustainable Development Goals in the SDGs in 2015. As I've shown you, since 1961, the World Food Program has been feeding hundreds of millions of people, and in 2020, they received the Nobel Peace Prize for the work and efforts. Since 1972, we've been talking about the environment. In 1972 in Stockholm, we had a conference with the first human environment report. First time that we talk, what is the impact that humans are having on the development of nations, and why do we need to care as a global community what is going on and what can we do about it? Since 1946, UNESCO has been supporting education, science and culture, and World Heritage Spaces, informs museums on how to work and whatnot. Since 2010, we have been working with UN Women, formerly UNIFEM, the entity of the UN responsible for gender equality and for the protection of the rights of women and girls. And finally, since 1945, we have been this space, the arena for global engagement, for diplomacy, to work together to make a difference. Let me give you an example of the most recent effort of the United Nations globally, and is essential in what we are doing today and we had to do moving forward. Artificial intelligence and global governance. What is the role of the United Nations in artificial intelligence? How is the UN benefiting or using it? And how can we really ensure that it's a safe use for that? The potential for AI in support of the Sustainable Development Goals is on poverty, education, health, and climate. And then we have the different studies that we have. We're using AI to map, to identify the various space, how we can do it. The UN, again, is not the 1945 organization that was just to prevent war and conflict. It's much more. It's about quality of life and inclusivity. AI for human rights, enhancing human rights monitoring and challenges to ethical regulation. Tracking violations and reporting tools. We use AI to track, like, for example, paths of individuals that traffic with human beings, particularly women and children for sexual purposes and exploitation. There's a mapping. You can provide a lot of data, and the system will tell you more likely where are the ports of entry, where are the routes that are being used, and who is doing what. The same for migration, legal migration through sea, for example, from Africa to Europe and vice versa. So there's a lot of uses. There are many uses that we can and that we haven't with regards to AI. What are the challenges? Biases and privacy. And I'm going to show you a very perfect example of bias in AI. So it's not all beautiful, it's not all cool. It's like, okay, recently, a few months ago, I asked AI to give me an image, to generate an image of the United Nations in 2100. I said, how does AI envision the United Nations in the year 2100? And this is what it gave me. What's the problem with the picture? Sorry? No women? Huh. I guess we have no women at the UN. The problem is that only 10% of the speakers during the last general debate of the General Assembly were women. So AI only feeds from information that it receives and then envisions. I guess that is a trend for information. So I said, okay, the same platform, I'm not going to announce which one it is, but the same platform, could you please ensure that you incorporate women into the picture? Could you, make sure that there's a balance? And this is what it returned. What do you see? Women are protesting, disrupting the meeting, not being part of the conversation, not sitting down with the delegates, not representing the global community. Do you see the problem with this? If we just trust AI and don't check, we don't try to change society. It's also a very good message. What's wrong with our society? We are not being inclusive in certain spaces. We need to reconsider what we do and how we operate, how we work. The challenges that we face and the challenges that we will continue facing are not something that are going to disappear overnight, so we have to continue working on this. But also there are all the benefits, as I said, for AI. Humanitarian aid, particularly disaster response, and health and well-being. I'm not going to bore you again. There are many websites that we have that you can find information on these different areas. I invite you to look at them. What initiatives do we have? Governance, frameworks of ethical use, and recent resolution. March 2024, the UN passed for the first time in history the resolution on AI, the proper use of AI and global governance, how it should be considered globally, who should have access to it. It's very cool that we in this room are in a place where we can have access to this technology. How about developing countries that need it the most for crops production or for prevention of disasters due to weather? They don't have access to it. And while we claim that AI may have answers for these or solutions to the challenges of the world, if we're not involving those actors that need them the most, it's like having a meeting about youth and everyone is 50 and above in the meeting. It's talking about the future of women engagement, but only men are around the table. So when we talk about AI development and global governance, we need to make sure that everyone is invited. Developing countries, economies in transition, developed countries, and every sector, private sector, academia. So that's where we work. We have different collaborations with companies like Microsoft, Google. We also work with companies. For example, Elon Musk provided satellite communications for Ukraine when it was necessary, not through the UN, but in collaboration with UN entities and partners. We work with everyone that we can that is going to do some good for us. And finally, we have research institutions also focusing on AI and global governance. What are the challenges then? We talk about the ethical and legal. Is everyone spying on us? What is the information being used for? If I apply to be part of a conference at the UN in X country, will that country collect information on me and prevent me from attending by not giving me a visa? Because those are challenges that we are facing nowadays, even without AI. And finally, what do we look into the future? The advancement as, well, the potential uses and the implications. How may we look into the world knowing that AI is here to stay? And when I talk about AI, it's not only generative AI, which is ChatGPT and whatnot, it's all uses of AI at all levels. Now, I've shown you many things that the UN has done and many things that the UN has done. How many of you have seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada? Okay. That movie has the best definition ever that I have seen of the United Nations. Do you remember it? Let me refresh your memory.
Don't we? Oh, this might be. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, you know me. Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon, and I'm on board.
But do you think it's too much like...
Like La Croix from July? I thought that, but no, not with the right accessories. It should work.
Where are the belts for this dress? Why is no one ready?
Here. It's a tough call. They're so different.
Something funny?
No, nothing's, it's just that both those belts look exactly the same to me. I'm still learning about this stuff and,
This stuff? Oh, okay. I see. You think this has nothing to do with you. You go to your closet and you select, I don't know, that lumpy blue sweater, for instance, because you're trying to tell the world that you take yourself too seriously to care about what you put on your back. But what you don't know is that that sweater is not just blue, it's not turquoise, it's not lapis, it's actually cerulean. And you're also blithely unaware of the fact that in 2002, Oscar de la Renta did a collection of cerulean gowns. And then I think it was Yves Saint Laurent, wasn't it, who showed cerulean military jackets? I think we need a jacket here. And then cerulean quickly showed up in the collections of 8 different designers. And then it filtered down through the department stores and then trickled on down into some tragic casual corner where you no doubt fished it out of some clearance bin. However, that blue represents millions of dollars and countless jobs. And it's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Why do you think that I say that that is the best definition of the United Nations? How much do you think that the UN influences your life? Raise your hand if you know of something that you have because of the United Nations, besides human rights. Raise your hand. Don't be afraid, like, just, okay. Most of you don't. Let me share with you some of the work that we do at the United Nations, that my colleagues do in all the different agencies, funds, and programs that impact you on a daily basis. The World Health Organization, responsible for vaccines, standards of care, standards of how to address pandemics, and how to deal with diseases and outbreaks. It is through the UN that these things are handled. The World Meteorological Organization, standards for weather patterns and prediction, prevention of disasters. If we have different models that the UN, through the WMO, is responsible for. UPU is the Universal Postal Union. When you send a package across borders from one country to the other, are the standards of the United Nations that are applied or that were decided at the United Nations with the work that we do with my colleagues in the UPU. UNICEF, children's rights, advocacy for standards of education, protection of rights, the Convention on the Rights of the Child. UNICEF is responsible. UNICEF has saved more children's lives since 1946 than the rest of the world combined. That is how important it is. UNHCR, the refugee agency of the United Nations, with over 80 million people displaced nowadays, many of them refugees, some of them asylees, many migrants. We have to have standards for protection and then give rights that all the countries have to, or all the countries, members of the United Nations need to abide by and respect. UNDP development program, programs on the ground that help with the development of nations everywhere. FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, providing food, has received different awards throughout its history by providing standards of agriculture in different countries and providing with the resources to feed the hungry and feed those in need. ILO, standards of labor globally, the International Labour Organization of the United Nations, responsible for 40 hours a week, overtime, parental leave, all that comes because of agreements with the ILO. IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency or entity of the United Nations, responsible for safety of nuclear plants, nuclear use and whatnot. But you say, yeah, well, that is very generic. How about something that we really use daily? How many of you have one of this? Smartphone. How do they work? What do you need in outer space for them to work? Satellites. Who determines the orbits of the satellites? I gave you a clue by telling you all this before. But who determines the orbits and frequency of communication of satellites globally? ITU, International Telecommunications Union of the United Nations. Next time you use Twitter and TikTok, you can thank the UN for that. Next time you watch Netflix or any other platform, please thank the UN because you can communicate effectively due to the fact that through the ITU, we know where to place the satellites so they don't collide with each other. It's not NASA, it's not one specific country, it's the global community together through the ITU that determines these things. And finally, ICAO. Next time you take a plane, know that the safety of airplanes and the standards for baggage, the standards for transportation, the biometrics in your passport are determined by the ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization of the United Nations in Montreal, Canada. The UN is influencing your lives daily. You may not know it, but your life is much better because of the work that we have been doing since 1945. I contribute minimally. I'm in the Department of Global Communications. I work with nonprofits and NGOs. I love what I do. I travel the world and I just have projects everywhere. And I'm in love with my job. I've been doing this for 17 years and I wouldn't quit and I wouldn't change it for anything. And my colleagues feel the same way. But know that what we do really matters for everyone, including you. It's not that we just help poor people in certain corners of the world. We influence lives constantly, and we need all of your support. As I said, with over 8 billion people on this planet, it's very naive to think that we're going to find all the solutions. For as much as we have the capacity to do all these incredible things, we have the need to continue working. Because, and let me just show you just a few pictures to finish. We provide support globally. We care for people. The motto of Agenda 2030, the symbol that I'm wearing and that we live by at the UN, is to leave no one behind, not one person behind. And that means really not one person behind. Many of you are in business, many of you are in statistics, many of you are in science, and if I were to tell you what is the success rate that you consider is the minimum standard for your environment or for your enterprise, what would you say? What percentage? Sorry? 100%. Anything less is failure. So since we will not be able to achieve the SDGs 100%, we just give up because we're going to fail. Then, how about 99%? Is that okay? So we don't give up, but we understand that failure is not measured the same way that we may do it for other businesses.
Yeah.
Those two individuals, what is the percentage that they represent from the global population? In the 8 billion plus population, what is 2 people out of 8 billion?
It's less than 1%.
Do they matter?
They still matter.
Do these kids matter?
They matter as well.
But they're not even 0.0005%.
Yeah.
Is that still okay?
Yeah.
See, the UN does not follow certain standards. We don't care about the percentages. We don't care about how successful our campaigns are going to be. One person's enough for the investment. If you have a family member that is sick, would you do anything in your power to just provide for them and help them?
Yes.
That's the work of the UN. We try people with disabilities. Do they matter?
Yes.
Well, they don't contribute to society as much. Until recently, they didn't have any rights. The Convention on the Rights of the Children plus the Convention on the Children of People with Disabilities of the United Nations have ensured that there are certain standards globally so that people with disabilities are not discarded, that they're not a burden to society. They matter. With 1.3 billion people with a disability on this planet, imagine if we were not to protect them, if the work of the UN was not enforced. Education for people in Bolivia, for example, we have programs to ensure that children have the right to grow with certain standards. We work with NGOs. We need NGOs and CSOs, academic institutions. We need everyone. Provision in Bosnia and Kosovo, and mostly Bosnia is this. The work that we did post-conflict, the different regional conflicts that we have nowadays, is not only people in Africa, it's in Europe, it's in Asia. Everywhere, the UN is responsible for the protection of rights of people. Education for girls in certain spaces that they don't have the right to have an education. The UN will advocate and collaborate with amazing people like your speaker that they facilitate that women and girls still have access to the right of education. Detection of mines. Our peacekeepers will do the impossible also. We're risking their lives. We have lost over 300 people in Gaza right now because of the conflict, because my colleagues refuse to leave the conflict zone. I'm privileged that I work in New York and I'm protected. I live like a king compared to anyone else. I have no rights to complain. My colleagues are risking their lives on a regular basis. Thousands of my colleagues are doing this constantly because they care, because that one person matters. We have missions. We work with local authorities. We ensure that we can communicate. We engage. Imagine, let me give you an example that I gave our Afghan friend the other day. Imagine that Felipe, a communications officer from the UN, who knows a lot about sustainability and problems, shows up in Afghanistan in a remote village up in the mountains and say, "Hi, my name is Felipe. I have a plan for you. It's called Agenda 2030 with 17 goals. You're going to love them. They're fantastic. We're going to end poverty, eradicate hunger. We're going to do every single thing that you have a problem with, education." Brother, what do you think the matriarch of the village is going to say to me when I show up with that cockiness and say, I have solutions for you? Honey, really? Who are you again? Mr. UN? You don't look like us, you don't worship like us, you don't eat like us, you don't dress like us, you're not one of us, and yet you come with solutions for us, Mr. UN? Go back home and enjoy life in New York and let us be. Imagine if instead of me being that cocky officer of the UN thinking that I have the answers for everything, I identify the local imam in that village, someone they trust, and I sit down with him for iftar, and I share a meal with him, and we talk, and I ask, hey, what are the challenges of your community? And believe it or not, it's not education for girls as I thought it was, because they're far from the Taliban, so they have not been reached yet, but it's fetching water, or any other issue with the SDGs. And I say, who would have thought? I assumed things that were incorrect because I did not take the time to really engage. If I take the time to learn from you, maybe I can give you a better service by providing you with answers or potential collaborations to answer. So what do you think is going to happen next Friday at the Friday prayer at the mosque when he's talking to the community and he's saying, by the way, did you know that our brothers and sisters in other countries, in other places are doing this and they're doing, how about, what do you think is going to happen with the same message that I had for them? Will it be better or worse received?
Better.
Why?
Because it's someone that they can relate to.
Is one of them. Imagine me showing up in Africa in one specific country or region saying, hi, I am in Kenya. Anyone from Kenya? A Mzungu. Anyone from Nigeria? An Ojimbo, a white man, come and said, hi, I'm going to tell you about female genital mutilation. I'm a man, white, from a country where, what authority do I have? Oh, I come from the UN. Really? Makes no sense. That is not how things work. So we engage with local communities because we care. We do care, and we provide, and we try to ensure that everyone has the right to access to those resources that they need. When we talk about empowerment, we don't talk about us empowering. Ladies in the room, let me ask you a question. Do you need any man to empower you to do anything? Ooh, I don't hear it strong enough. Again, do you need any man to empower you to do anything?
No.
Okay, so what are we talking then about empowerment? What the heck is that about empowerment? How about if we change the definition and we say empowerment is the process through which we eliminate the obstacles along the way so that women can empower themselves, so that youth can empower itself, so that any minority can empower itself. Sure that we have had a history that we have not worked like that, but it's not about what men have that women don't have. There's nothing that we have that you don't have. It's just that the capacity of doing things is very different. So if we eliminate the obstacles, that's empowerment. If we provide solutions, that's empowerment. If we give voices, that is empowerment. So women empowerment has nothing to do with men, has to do with eliminate from society, and the same with youth empowerment. And all of you are young, all of us are young. So we need to claim that right that we have to empower ourselves, because it's within us the capacity of doing things. The UN believes that sustainable development, true change, happens when you facilitate an environment where people can empower themselves. No country can come to you and tell you, well, let me show you what democracy looks like. And then after a few decades or years, we leave a mess and, well, they didn't know how to take it, so we're living, right? Like in Afghanistan, Iraq, with some countries going, like the US, for example, saying, here we go. Let me show you what democracy looks like, McDonald's and Starbucks and whatever it is. And what happens afterwards when that doesn't, why do you think that those experiments fail? Because you don't include the community in the conversation. Because people need to understand that there are as many versions of democracy as countries are there in the world. Because those of you who are from Japan and I'm from Spain, we have different countries, we live in different democracies, but they're equally as important and as valid. And one is not better than the other one, they're just different because they came from different spaces, from different historical situations, from different traditions and religions. We at the UN believe that it is by creating those spaces that we can really empower. Our motto is service. So we will continue serving the international community in spite of being bombed at, shot at, being persecuted, in spite of all the challenges that we face, being defunded right now. The UN is going through a financial crisis, and this year that we turn 80, we have what we call the UN 80 program. And we are reducing our capacity, our personnel, by 20%. We are reducing our budget by 20% as well. We don't have money. We owe money to some of our vendors. We try not to, but we are in credit right now. We had to stop programs. Programs that we had to prevent that children become child soldiers, we had to abandon those programs because we had no funding. And for as much as we tried to continue working in those spaces, member states did not care enough. If there's one thing that I want you to take from us at the UN is that we need you. Please, when you elect your officials, make sure that you vote for those who have the best values and who have the best intentions at hand for the global community. Because you have the power through your vote, participation in electoral processes, to put the right people in place so that we can have the right leaders at the UN so that we can do the right thing. We need you much more than you need us, because without you, the UN is impossible to exist in a meaningful way, and we cannot continue saving. I live this is the last image, this last slide. This is a picture that I think shows, again, the disposition of us serving others, and not from a position of authority, but from a position of service. I'm a person of faith, and I believe that service is paramount in the work that we do at the UN, but also in our personal lives. So I invite you to consider, how is that the UN operates? What is that we do? What is that you can do? And for as many failures as we have at the UN, and we have many, trust me, we are not perfect, and we have been perfect for a long time. We have made many mistakes, and we continue making mistakes. But I want you to understand that our intention is there. We learn, we grow, we become, and ideally, one day you will join us, and we'll continue making the world a better place. Thank you so much.